Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to show you guys how to build a tank, and maybe an armored car, depending how fast I can build these things. Probably in the next video, I'll show you how to armor these things. So let's start the building process. Unless you're purposely going for a seat that can get destroyed, I would always recommend the armored seat, because it can survive more shots than other seats. The armored seat and the spaceship cockpit seat have the exact same durability. This one's just nice and small, and they're the same weight. So, whenever you can, use the armored seat. Unless you're trying to go for like a custom cockpit on something, then use the go-kart, or operator and car seat. So now that we've placed down our seat, either we could decide with a armored car, which generally use truck wheels, or a tank. I think here I'm gonna start off with the tank. So, golem tracks are not the best tracks. Basically, they can't support that much weight, so a lot of people either use space thrusters like this, or gimbals, to make your vehicle lighter so that the tracks have suspension. But I'm not going to put too much armor on this thing, so it'll be light anyways. Also, where this is, like the end of the connection points, that's how low, that the maximum, that's pretty much as far down as you can go for building stuff. If you build below here, you have a chance of getting hit on things when you like drive over a bump and your suspension's compressed. Also recommended to put engines in the back. It doesn't really matter how, but put them in the back, because that's generally where you don't get shot from. If you do, you're already in trouble. I'm gonna put these a little bit farther back here, just so I have space for a turret. So I will not be using glitches in this tutorial, since I don't need to. Let's start shaping this thing out. I always recommend using mirror mode, because it does make building literally twice as fast. And whenever you can, you should always connect blocks up, even if it's just temporary, just in case the your game crashes, or if you're in a server. Now I've connected that front plate there. This is basically the very frontal armor of the tank. I'll put this here for a bear arrow. So when I build a tank, I generally shape out the front first before doing anything else. And I think I want this to be a little lower for a front plate, so we're just gonna scoot all of it down. Also, if you didn't know, you can use the arrow keys and WASD to move blocks around. So that's nice. Putting some detailing on the back here. I do have every DLC in the game, so I'm just gonna put this here for some more detail. Also, it is recommended to have more than one steering mechanism. I would spread them around, just so that you don't lose steering immediately when you get shot in specific places. So now we've basically got the hull done for the tank. I'll put some 1x4s here for aerodynamics and give it some shaping. So now if we test this out, this should drive around just fine. And the reason it's quite fast right now is because it does not have any weight. It's really light still. Tank tracks work faster when they are light, and your suspension ain't compressed. But generally, lighter things in Trailmakers are faster, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. I am gonna balance this weight a little better by splitting these engines between the front and the back. That makes this thing a bit more balanced. It sits leveler on the ground. Make sure your tank tracks are going like normal, like a wheel. You got this thing. And this one is now going the wrong direction, I think. Yep. So if they're not going the right direction, you'll just spin in place. And to fix that, you can just hit the reverse button on the track. And boom, now it goes the right direction. I'm gonna start putting the turret on now, after I cover this hole up. Okay, there we go. The bottom is all nice and covered. So basically the hull is done. And if you want to not look at the tracks as much, you can put shields to like cover them up. Like so. It can be hard to cover all of it up. But there, tracks are more like hidden. Also giving you a little bit more protection. So now I'm going to put the turret on, which is generally what people struggle on with these things. So you want to figure out where you want the turret on the tank. Do you want it forward? Do you want it farther back, or do you want it centered? For this, I'll just do centered. It's nice and easy. Give it some extra connection so it doesn't just fall off. And there we go. Nice and connected. So actually, instead of these, I'm gonna give y'all a tip. Things people don't know. If you use sensors like this, they have no collisions. Also meaning that your turret will swivel properly. See, if I take this 6x2 here, it's on a flat surface and it's allowed to spin freely. No issues. Also make sure your turret, unless it can't aim all the way around, is at 360 degrees. Generally, you don't need to mess with anything else. I like to have the turret off by default and on a keybind, so that when I spawn in, the turret isn't moving. So if you're accidentally looking down, and you don't have enough gun depression in the front, but you have more on the side or something, when you spawn in, you don't accidentally glitch yourself out. So I generally have to turn it off by default. And also make sure you do that with your aiming servos for your vertical drive, since that is important. I'm gonna use the normal tank cannon here since most of you probably don't the DLC. So this is gonna be a pretty large turret. Normally, I just use the small tank cannons like this, with connections in between. And then using 1x4s for better aerodynamics. So then you'd have something like this, which would connect all of these guns together, allowing you to easily fit this onto a turret like this one. And you still have a decent amount of gun depression while not being very tall. But since most of you don't have the DLC, I'm just going to use the normal tank cannon. So you don't have to give it a barrel, but it does look nicer. That's what I'm going to do. Looks good enough to me. And give it some more sensors for less glitchiness later. You can always add and remove, but it's better to have more than you need at the beginning. So I'm gonna put this up on a platform here. Then I will put a wedge here to make it look like that's how far the gun can go down. Then I will use these rounded corners. They have connections everywhere except for this side right here, the front down here, and this side. But everywhere else has connections, so it's nice and easy to put them in a turret. Turret can aim up and down still, and there's less issues to have later. And then you can put a panel on top, and we're all good for the gun. Now I'm just gonna armor it up / make it look better. I don't really know what I'm going for on this thing, just kind of building. It would be nice if we had these corners, but as more sharper angles, but I think we're getting that in the next update. But it doesn't look terrible. Actually, it's better than I thought. I have to use this on a better tank. Give it more of that like boxy, big turret naval gun look. Fill out more of the top of this hole. There we go. And we got our gun. So you can put machine guns, I guess, if you want, if you need them. They do make tanks look nicer when you have them. I'll just put it on top here. So when you do glitching in a turret like this, you should always go in and out build whenever you can, just to check for weld group issues. Because sometimes even when you have no connections, it will get stuck, and it could be annoying. Also, I generally do my cannon on left click and my machine guns on right click. That's just how I operate. Works good for me. But you can do whatever the heck you want to your tank. Next step is some slight detailing. So, you can never go wrong with just having like sights. So I've done stuff like this before. Give it like a periscope look. then you can take a decal, because there are free ones. And I generally do blue insides, yellow insides, and about that. So you can do this on the side of your turret, on top of your turret, basically wherever you want it. I'm gonna fill in this turret here. Sweet. So now we have a tank with a pretty tall turret. This definitely isn't gonna be the greatest tank of all time, but it's pretty easy, it's pretty simple. And it really didn't take that long, though I am pretty much a pro at this game. So of course it's not gonna take me long. It will probably take you guys longer just to figure out rotations and things, but it's pretty simple. So either you can fill in the insides, but I will not do that in this video since I ain't really building for armor. Just showing you guys how to build a tank that doesn't look terrible. Another thing you can do is antennas. So you can take a hinge, and if you don't have the space DLC with the stick antenna here, so that's generally what I do. I strap one of these on. You set your strength to like 1 with like 0.01 dampening. You turn off your controls. I also always put keys in that I will never use, because when I first started years ago, your inputs, if you did this and gave it no inputs, it might accidentally fill them in and cause issues, and I think it still can occur today. So just give it a false input, or don't worry about it, you'll probably be fine. Then you set the strength low and you have antenna, and then you just balance the strength to what you want, and then you have a wobbly antenna. But since most of you probably don't have that DLC, I will just do some tubes. And there we go. We'll up the strength to 1.5. And there it's an antenna. If you want it to slow down faster, just turn up this dampening. Maybe 0.1. And there you go. Then you can just paint it black. And you've got yourself a little antenna. If you do have the skin for the machine gun, it does look more like a, gun on top. But if you don't, you'll probably be fine. I'm gonna try and put a scope right here. Maybe. No. Trying to do this without glitches is kind of a difficult thing for little sites, so I think I'll just forget it on this turret. We'll just do it on the back here. This is good enough. Also, things you should do is just little details like this. All of these decoration blocks, at least 90% of them are free. So use them to get some more angles out of things. If you have a bigger turret, you can put them on top to look like a air duct or something. You could put little things on the back here, like exhausts. I don't remember if the smoke generator is free or not. I don't think it is, but if you have them, you can put them on the back somewhere for exhaust. And if you do know how to do piston glitching, you can always piston glitch some stuff around. Get more secret detail. You can use hinge glitching. But keep in mind when you do glitching, it can break your turret at times. But I think here is a pretty decent tank. And using this new coloring system, we can grab everything that isn't painted and make it a specific color. So you can make it a nice military green. You can make it any color you want. I do believe every color in the game is free. So I'll just paint this light gray. Generally I paint like the guns a little bit more black. You could give your barrel some detail. And I think that's about all for the tank. So there you go, that's how you build a simple tank. Now let's switch over to building an armored car. Armored cars are decently easy. Again, same setup. Start with your C, you can start with your engines if you want. Again, use mirror mode. But for armored car, you gotta really decide how many tires you want. I'm just gonna use truck tires. And I'll do a 3-wheeled vehicle. So you can basically put these to be anywhere you want. You can make it have prominent front wheel steering. You could just have 3 tires separated like this, but I would make sure that it's wide enough. So if you're going to do something like this, you probably want about this wide. Yeah, I don't know. This probably looks a little more slicker, but this one, slightly wider, is always more functional. So we'll go off of this here. So either you could do custom wheel hubs, that's what I'll be doing here, since they do always look better than what Trailmakers offers, and you can customize them however you want. And there you go, got wheel hubs. Put some shields on top unless you plan on making this even taller. And you got basically your frame for your wheels. And decide if you want to do 4-wheel steering or just tank steering mechanism. For this, we'll just do 4-wheel steering. Make it turn nice and fast. Just use straight suspension, there's no point using the other one unless you are going for a specific look. But when they're internal like this, it doesn't really matter. And if you are light and you are using truck tires, you can put blocks down here. But you generally don't need to, so don't worry about that. Armored cars can easily go a lot faster than tanks, just due to having, well, not having, I guess, tracks. Tracks are quite slow in Trailmakers, especially when you add a ton of weight. So I find for ending off the tires in the front and back, doing a wedge like this looks a little nicer. And then you could take one of these inverted corners to kind of round it off. So either you could go with a straight front, like this, and then angle the front back. Or you could try and make this look a little nicer and angled and stuff. But keep in mind, sometimes angles can be difficult. Especially when you're trying to get something specific. So you can do something like this, I guess, and you have your little angled back front plate, which lots of tanks and vehicles like this have. And we have this just to make it different, I don't know. We'll just connect everything up. And there you go, the front's connected. Back can generally just be flat, unless you have a specific design you're going for. I will put some more engines on this because this is quite a few, or not but enough really. Get the sides connected up finally. And there we go. It's all nice and connected. You can steer. As you can see, it's already faster than the tank with less power cores. I think, I don't really remember how to put on that thing. And the nice thing about armored cars is they do handle terrain a little better. They're generally lighter. Tank tracks are quite heavy. And on the cars you can customize your suspension if you put it on. You don't need it, but it is a good thing to have. Again, we'll finish off the top here. Not really saving complexity since these are pretty simple vehicles. Unless you're really, really big, you don't generally have to save on complexity. And it seems I'm going to cover up this bottom. So we are starting at complexity, so I'll just start using all the blocks. You could just, by default, use more complexity saving blocks, but not really caring. Got more than enough. All I have to do now is put on a turret. So I do generally find shaping these things a little simpler. You can easily put more detail and stuff on. You can customize their size a little better. I'm gonna take some of this top area off, so I have space for a turret again. Put these sensors back on. And there you go. Turret should be all good to go. Customized angles now is better than later, when it's harder to get to it. I would like to do a shorter gun on this one, which is generally easier with those small tank cannons, but I am trying to do this with no DLCs for anyone that wants to do a tank like this. So if you do have DLCs, I'd always just recommend using the small tank cannons They have slightly less range, but and a tiny bit less spread damage, but you can put 4 of them in the same space as one tank can, so in general they're just better. Also, Z and Y, if you didn't know, are the undo and redo buttons. So if you accidentally did something you don't want to do, just press Z. And if you accidentally did like undo this and you want to put it back, just press Y, and it'll go right back. Also, can be nice if you're undoing lots of things and you accidentally go past what you're trying to do. Also, in my Discord, if you don't remember, there's a link to it in the profile of my YouTube or something. There are going to be tank tournaments eventually, so it'd be nice if you guys could join and wanna do that, get that started. They are more hard to do rules, unlike our casual battles of high gun counts, which you've probably seen the rules in previous videos. I'm just using these wedges here to fill in that hole while also letting the turret move. This is probably the turret I should have put on the tank, but whatever. Put our machine gun on top. Turn off mirror mode so you can off center it. What I'll do here is a better antenna. So anywhere on your tank, hide a NOR gate. You should probably hide this near your seat, especially if you have lots of glitches going on or things moving around. What I'll do here is put this on 65 degrees, and by default, logic gates activate on the green, also known as positive, so make sure your moving parts are going in the green direction where you want to go. We'll still set this to like 1 strength with 0.05 dampening. Should have set this to 1.2, and there you go. Now you have an angled antenna. You can always have more antennas, but 1 to 2 is generally what people do. Also, if you don't want to see the Z Tires logo, just paint the second color black, and that'll hide it, making it look a little cleaner. And another thing I've been doing recently is, first off, like back here in the engines, you can take a Triton engine and put it in the back here. I would just make sure you have space for that, put it in the design instead of afterthought. But then you got a nice cool futuristic engine sticking out the back. And this will also give you the ability to go through water a little easier. Just give myself another space for our engine. Rotate blocks to get optimal connections on places you need it. That is important. Also, in building, I recommend having autofocus on, so that when you click something, your camera is centered to the angle you're looking at. It brings you closer to the block, can bring you farther away, so when you're trying to look inside of builds, you can easily get inside. It's a thing I've used for years. It has like no flaws. Right, can't use mirror mode now that I've offset the vehicle. I'm gonna just fill this section right here, just so that you can't see inside the vehicle, or accidentally get shot because you have a hole inside. So there we go, looks a little cleaner. It's a little back heavy, so we'll just take these suspensions and we'll set the stiffness to 1. Right, it's nice and level. If your vehicles are too springy, increase the dampening until they like stop springing. But as you can see, this thing rides pretty decently on the terrain. I should probably stiffen the suspension a little more. Unless you have multiple sets, I would just make it so that it's more than like 50% higher off, like more than it, half of its suspension is not compressed. So that it rides a little higher, giving you a little more ground clearance. I think because I made it quite low with the suspension on this, it might bottom out a little easier. But it does give you more space to build inside of. But that's armored car. Pretty simple. Just a simple tutorial video how to build these things. So they both look like they're pretty similar, honestly. The tank can definitely have more armor because tracks are more durable. But I think I'll call the video here. Thank you all for watching, and remember, we're all Trailmakers.